Oldenwick, the jewel of the valley. Nestled amidst fertile farmlands, Aldenwick's fields were a canvas of golden wheat swaying gently in the breeze. The diligent hands of its farmers ensured bountiful harvests year after year. The local economy thrived not only on agriculture, but also on the wool trade. Merchants from France, Flanders, and beyond flocked to Aldenwick, drawn by the high-quality wool that fetched premium prices in their far-off markets. The village's wealth was mirrored in its bustling marketplace. The clinking of coins, the murmur of traders, and the laughter of children created a vibrant tapestry of everyday life. William de Courcy, a respected and wise leader, fostered a sense of community and stability. Granted to William de Courcy's ancestors by the Conqueror, the village stood as a testament to generations of loyalty and service to the crown. The year 1216 was not kind to the villagers of Oldenwick. In the winter of 1215, William de Courcy died of a fever at his estate in the north. With no son to inherit the estate, it passed back to King John, who was preoccupied with putting down the barons' revolt elsewhere in England. By the spring, the serene prosperity of Oldenwick was shattered by an insidious plague that swept through the village like a shadow of death. What began as a few mysterious illnesses rapidly escalated into a full-blown epidemic. The village, once filled with the lively sounds of trade and harvest, was now overwhelmed by the howling silence of loss. Young and old alike succumbed to the disease, their lives extinguished by the unknown malady. Panic spread faster than the illness itself, as the villagers were gripped by fear and desperation. The once bustling market square became a place of sorrow, the air heavy with grief and the scent of despair. Families fled in terror, abandoning their homes in search of safety. Soon, the village was all but deserted. In this profound crisis, Wulfhere, a farmer from an old and respected Saxon family, emerged as a beacon of hope. Despite losing his entire family to the plague, Wulfhere chose to remain in the village. Through his leadership, Wulfhere sought to bring order amidst the chaos, tending to the sick, organising burials, and maintaining what little semblance of normality remained. His steadfast presence offered a glimmer of hope in a time of profound darkness. With Aldenwick weakened by disease and left leaderless, Sir Richard de Montagu, the Lord of Longdown, saw his chance to expand his dominion. The fertile lands of Aldenwick, once the pride of the de Courcy family, were now ripe for the taking. Driven by his insatiable thirst for power and land, Sir Richard dispatched a small force of workmen and militia from Longdown to stake his claim. They moved swiftly and silently, their mission clear: erect fences and secure the eastern farmlands under the banner of Longdown. Under the cover of dawn, they emerged on the outskirts of Aldenwick. Their tools clanged as they began to drive stakes into the ground, unaware that their actions had not gone unnoticed. Among the remnants of Aldenwick's beleaguered populace, Wulfhere watched with a heavy heart and a resolute spirit. The land that had nurtured his ancestors and the village that had once been his home were now under threat from a tyrant's greed. Rallying the remaining men of Aldenwick, Wulfhere devised a plan to defend their home. With quiet determination, he gathered those willing to fight. Those men, driven by loss, with a fierce loyalty to their home, prepared for battle. Under Wulfhere's guidance, they took up arms, bows, spears, pitchforks, and anything else they could take their hands on. As Sir Richard's men toiled, erecting fences, the villagers of Aldenwick lay in wait, hidden in the trees. With the signal from Wulfhere, they launched their ambush.
Hi everyone, welcome to this, the first scenario for my Barons War narrative campaign that I've called the Barons Feud. This first scenario, we're going to have two relatively small retinues facing off against each other. On the right hand side of the screen here, we've got the men of Longdown, and on the left hand side of the screen here, we've got the men of Oldenwick. The Oldenwick side, we have got Wulfhere. So he is the village elder, so he's been given a sort of like commander profile. He's based on a regular bowman. He's got the Every Bloody Sunday ability. He's got 2 actions, a bow and padded armour. He's leading 5 regular bowmen, again with Every Bloody Sunday, bow and padded armour. We've then got a second group on this side of 5 regular bowmen, again equipped in the same way, so they've got the Every Bloody Sunday ability, a bow and padded armour. The final group that he's leading is of green spearmen. These don't have any abilities. These are the guys in the middle here. They're armed with a spear and small shield, so no armor on those guys. Then on the Longdown side, we've got an unnamed farmer, warrior, leading a group of 5 irregular spears. So they've got spears and small shields. And I should say the farmer as well, the unnamed farmer who's there, he's got 2 actions. We've then got 2 groups of bowmen, both identical. The first group of green bowmen, armed with just a bow, and the second group of green bowmen. So as you can see, this is quite heavily weighted in favour of the men of Oldenwick, but this is mainly because it's kind of like the introduction to what's going on in the scenario and what's going to set the scene for the campaign. The layout for the battlefield is quite simple. We've got crossroads. This way leads to Aldenwick, this way leads to Longdown. We've got fertile farmland. On this edge of the battlefield, we've got woodland, and this is where the men of Oldenwick have come from. They're sneaking through the woods towards the men of Longdown. Wulfhere is going to get priority, going to get initiative for the first turn, so we'll be getting straight into it with Wulfhere taking the first actions. What we're going to start with is Wulfhere is going to activate down here. He has 2 actions. His first action is going to be to attack. He does have the Every Bloody Sunday special rule, but because of the distance between these 2 armies, it doesn't really matter. So he's armed with a bow, which means he can move forward 3 inches and shoot. So he will move forward 3. If they were shooting at long range, that's when Every Bloody Sunday would come into play, but it doesn't really matter for the purposes of what we're doing now. So for Wulfhere, it's a 6+. We've got 6, but because 6 dice, but because these guys are behind a barricade, although they've not taken up defensive positions, we drop 1 dice, so we'll be rolling 5 dice. So looking for 6s to hit. We have got a 9, we have got a 0, we've got a 7, a 4, and a 2. So putting these in order from largest to smallest, we can discard the final 2 because they don't matter. They've missed. We've got a critical hit, a 9 and a 7. We're going to need to roll 3 dice to make saves. The bowmen have got quite poor defense stats, so they're saving on a 7+. But because of this 0 here, we would also need a 0 to counter that, which they do get. So we have got a 0, we've got a 4, and we've got a 2. So the 0 cancels out the hit, and they lose 2. So that is 2 men down for Longdown. They will take a 2 on their morale dice, and they will be forced to move back 3 inches. So that's essentially the other side of this wall, which for them is probably not a terrible thing. That was Wulfhere's first action. The second action he's going to take is going to be a command action. Now, in deployment, because of course these guys are not particularly bright soldiers, they did not deploy close enough to the bows for him to be able to issue a command. The command range for these guys is 6 inches, so the only guys he can command are going to be the spearmen. So he's going to issue a command, and he's going to tell them to attack. These are only green spearmen, so they do need to pass a morale check. Wulfhere is not a proper commander, so he hasn't got the commander trait, he hasn't got the inspire trait, he's just essentially a jacked up farmer. In order to follow the command from Wulfhere, the spearmen are going to have to pass a morale check. So on a d10, they need to roll a 6+, and they roll a 6. For simplicity in this situation, I'm just going to say that they are within 6 inches of each other, so we don't need to roll for the strength of the charge, so essentially all of the attackers just move into combat. And as far as they can get into combat with each other and touch bases, you do. So what I will do for the Longdown commander is he has a chance to take a reaction. So he can either defend or he can attack back. Because both are armed with spears, they could both technically attack each other back. So I'll go a bit aggressive here, and I'll say that he has also decided to attack. He will attack after, and then we compare who's caused the most casualties and then take it from there. So there are 5 spearmen in this group for Oldenwick, so rolling 5 dice, needing a 8+. So we've got 2 hits. We've got a 0 and we've got a 9. We've also got a 3, 4 and a 3. We can just discard those. So the farmer has got a defense of 7, as does his command group. So needing 7s to cancel those hits. They don't cancel either. They have got 2 men down. So take out the ones which are in base contact. Now, the commander gets a chance to attack back. He has got 1, 2, 4 people left. So these guys, 4 of them attacking, their combat value is 7+. So they score 1 hit. So no matter really what happens here, the men of Aldenwick are going to win. But let's just see if the men of Longdown actually manage to stick something on their opponents. So the defense value, actually, rewind slightly. Both of these groups are equipped with small shields. So actually, the men of Oldenwick could survive on a 9+. They do get it. So one of them is in fact not really dead. He's just lying there very still. So they've lost 1 guy. So let's put this up here just so we know. That is a 1 on the morale dice. Then we've got the attack back. So there's 5 men attacking back now. Again, they need a 7 up to be able to hit. And they get nothing. 2 1s, a 3, 6 and a 5. The combat resolution will be these guys having to move back 2 inches. Now, the winner of the combat does get to regroup. That means they can make their full move in another direction for free. Moving forward doesn't really do much for these guys. So what I might just do is kind of like reposition them slightly here. This is a bit of a cheesy move because it could result in hindered shots for some of the Longdown archers. So that's their reposition. They've sort of regrouped, they're good, they're moving on. Initiative now switches back to the men of Longdown. First things first, I think we're going to activate the commander. The commander is going to see who's got in range. He's got these guys in range. He doesn't have the other bowmen in range. So he's going to command these guys, and I'll make these guys attack because I want to try and put some damage on Wulfhere and his group. So they're in defensive position, so I'm not going to move them forward. There's no point. They're going to have 3 dice shooting at Wulfhere. These guys are green bows, so they're shooting at short range, so they'll need an 8. And they all miss. Switching back to Oldenwick, we've got one option really, and that's to activate these guys at the end. These guys, the spearmen have already been ordered, so they can't take another action, and Wulfhere is already activated. These guys are going to take an attack action. They'll move forward 3 inches, and they're going to put all their fire into this group of bowmen. So again, start with 5, drop 1 because of the fence, and we need a 6+ to hit. They hit with 3. We've got a 8, a 9, a 6, and a 2. So we'll get rid of the 2. Rolling 3 defense dice for the bowman. They've got a defense of 7. They save 2. They get 2 zeros, which are immediate success, and a 6. So they lose 1 guy on the 6. They move back 2 inches, and they take 1 pip on their morale dice. At the end of the turn, it's going quite well for the men of Oldenwick. They've pushed forward in the centre with their spearmen. The bows on both sides have actually managed to do a little bit of damage, and They've not taken any casualties themselves. So now we're into the housekeeping phase of the turn. So essentially we just need to collect up all the tokens, and we reduce the morale score on each dice by 1. So this one goes, and this one reduces down to 1. Now we're ready to start a fresh turn. So you roll 2d10s. I'm going to roll the black dice for Longdown, the red dice for Aldenwick. Oldenwick get an 8, Longdown get a 2. Because the regroup move that the spearmen made, they're now more than 6 inches away from Wulfhere. Wulfhere is also more than 6 inches away from the archers, so he can't actually issue a command right now. So instead, I'm first going to activate the spearmen. They are going to take an attack action, and they are going to try to again push those spearmen back further down the road. So we don't need to roll for the strength of the charge because it is clearly less than 6 inches. Now we can put our spearmen base to base, and any that don't fit can go behind. So as long as they're an inch behind, they're still going to contribute to the attack. So there's 5 of them needing an 8+. So 8+ on 5 dice. They've got 1 hit. So they're needing to defend for the men of Longdown. They've got a 7-up defense. They do not save it. They have got a shield needing a 9-up. They do save it. So they've saved that. I should also have declared whether they're going to take a reaction. And in fairness, I probably would have taken a defense action just to try and keep them around longer. So I'll plot down the defense. So the first combat results in no clear winner. So both groups just back off 1 inch. They've all backed off 1 inch. So now for Longdown, I'm quite scared of what's going to happen to these archers over here, but equally quite scared of what's going to happen for them. So I think what I might do is activate these guys. They're going to take an attack. 3 of them shooting. They'll lose 1 because of the fence. And they are green bowmen, so they will need an 8+. Oh, 2 zeros. That is going to be difficult for Wulfhere's group to resist. So essentially I need to roll 2 zeros to save this. And they don't. They get an 8 and a 4. So Wulfhere's group are going to lose 2 guys, which is pretty bad. And they're going to move back 3 inches. That's not good for Wulfhere. That's not good at all. But that's very good for the men of Longdown. Now, over to Wulfhere. He might try and shift the flank a little bit, actually, now he's been pushed back. So to avoid any possible issues, Wulfhere is going to first use his every bloody Sunday rule, because it might matter, and he's going to move up 3 inches. Yeah, so they're firing at long range. And he's going to shoot into the bowman here. So because he's firing at long range, so he's going to need a 7+. The opponents, the men of Longdown, are actually in the open, so they don't get any benefits. So he'll need a 7+ to hit this. And that's quite a stunning roll. So they've got a 9, an 8, and a 7, and a 2. So we can discard the 2. We've got to save 3 for the Longdown men, and they need a 7 to save this. They save 1, which is really good, but then they lose the other 2. So they're going to lose 2 people. So they go back 3 inches. So now they've got to pass a morale check. So their morale is 6, but because they've got a 2 on their morale dice, it's actually going to be 8. So I need an 8 to survive. They get an 8, which is great because this is the second time I filmed this bit and they've passed. So again, I should have done a morale test for these guys last turn because the number they've lost more than 25% of their starting unit. Because of what they've done for Wulfhere there, they've put 2 wounds on him. I'm going to let him survive, they can live. So for Wulfhere's second activation, he's going to give a command, and he's going to give a command to this group. And this group is going to move up to the fence, and they're going to do some shooting. Now, whilst I think I can shoot into that command group, but they've taken a defense action, so that means that any saves they get are going to get a +2, which is pretty good. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try wipe out the last of these archers on the other side. So, rolling 5 dice, 6+ to hit. We get an 8, a 7, a 7 and a 6. So pretty good going. They need to save those. I'm rolling on a 7+. They save 2 with a 0 and a 1, but they will still take 2 wounds, which wipes this group off the battlefield. They are gone. Because they are gone, the commander takes a hit to his morale. And with that, Wulfhere's turn is done. So now Wulfhere is done, it's going to come back over to this side. The only activation left is for the commander. So if he attacks, he loses his defense, which is not a problem because after this action, no one else has got any more turns. So he will do that. He's going to attack these spearmen. Now there's a difference in morale between the two groups, as we've got the commander with 1 morale pip and the enemy spearmen, the men of Aldenwick, they don't have any morale pips on their dice. So because there's a difference, he's actually going to lose 1 attack dice. But he's a slightly better unit, so hopefully it doesn't matter. So they'll charge in. Now these guys have moved in, there's going to be a bit of a scrum in the middle here. We have got 5 dice for the command group, -1 because of the morale difference. He needs a 7+ to be able to do any damage to these guys. They roll an 8, 2 6s and a 2. So we'll discard the 6s and 2s, and we've got the 8. We will roll the defense dice. They need a 7 up to survive this, and they get a 7, so they survive. So again, both groups move back 1 inch. But I have a feeling the tide is turning with the destruction of that group on the flank there. There's not a lot left they can do. So all groups have activated. We'll go round. We'll take command dice, take the morale dice, and the command tokens. But what I did also forget is that when you have a group which breaks, or a group which is completely destroyed, I should say, any groups within 6 inches, if a friendly group is removed completely, any friendly groups within 6 inches must take a morale check. If their morale check has failed, they become broken, receiving a broken token. So, in for another turn. Rolling, see who's going to win, so we'll get initiative. So the black dice will be Longdown, red dice will be Oldenwick, and it goes to Oldenwick again, they get 2, Longdown get a 1. So Oldenwick activating first. We're going to jump straight in. We're going to get a command from Wulfhere to attack. Command issued to these guys, so needing to pass the command roll. The spearmen have got a morale of 6, so they need to pass on a 6. They get an 8, so easily passed. They're going to charge. They are not more than 6 inches away, so they can just fly straight in. Right, the opposing commander is this time going to take an attack back. So he's going to try and poke back with his spears. So the men of Longdown attacking with 5 men of Aldenwick, attacking with 5 spearmen. So 5 spearmen attacking. They have got a attack value of 8. So needing 8s to do damage, and we get none. Returning back with 5, needing a 7+, is the Longdown men. That's considerably better. They get an 8 and a 9. So 2 to save for the Longdown men. They have got a defense of 7. So they need 7+. They save 1. So we'll take away that 8. They save 1. We have got a shield. So a 9+ will save the last one. Oh my goodness. They save it again. So a 0 gives them that magic number. They save all the hits that have been put on them by these men. Back up an inch again, each of them. What he's going to do instead is going to take he's going to take an attack, and he can move 3 and shoot. So essentially he's just going to move up in line with this cart, and they're going to shoot into these archers. So 4 of them for Wulfhere, needing a 6 up because it's short range. They miss everything. They get a 4, 4, 3. That's it for Wulfhere. So now we're over to the opposition. So if the commander attacks now, he will become weary, which means everything he does is at a -1. He can't be attacked back because the spearmen have already activated. So there's no danger to him at the minute. But if he becomes weary, that means that any bow fire that comes in from the side here is actually going to be a bit more dangerous to him. So what we will do, he will do it. He's going to go for it. He's going to take a second attack action, and he's going to charge in. So he's also weary. So anything he does now is going to be at a -1 on his dice roll. The spearmen can't react to this because they've already taken their turn. So it's going to be onto these spearmen, which are 5. And rather than needing to roll a 7+, they now need to roll an 8+. Rolling 5 dice, they roll a 0, a 9, an 8, 6 and a 4. So they hit with 3, which is very good. The green spearmen need a 7+ to save that. So rolling 3 to save it. They get 2 7s and 1 2. So at the minute they are losing a guy, but do not forget they have got a small shield. So a 9+ will save it. But it's not. It's a 4. So they do lose a guy. They're down 1 guy. They're going to take a pip on their morale dice, and they are going to move back 2 inches. Now we've got the activation for the bowmen at the back here. The bowmen are going to activate. They will take an attack, and they are going to attack spearmen. So 5 bowmen, needing 6s, I believe. 6s because it's short range. Needing 6s to hit. That's quite good. So we get 6, 6, 6. 7 and a 4. The spearmen are going to have to make some saves here. They need to save 4. They have a defense rating of 7+. They got a 0, which will take off that. They got a 9, which will take off that. But other than that, they've failed. But they have got small shields, so they can still make shield saves, needing a 9+, which they do save 1 of. The other 2, the 8 and the 2, won't count. So they're going to lose 2 men. 2 dead, meaning they now need to take 2 pips. They also, now, because they started with 6, they need to take a morale test. So their morale is 5. They get a 9, so they are fine, but they will be pushed back 3 inches. In hindsight, I probably should have set more defined parameters for the objectives of this game. But let's finish the turn and see where we get to. So that's the Men of Longdown activated. Last one is going to be these bowmen here. They are going to take an attack action. They are going to attack the spearmen. They need 8s for green bows. Green bows need 8s. At the end of the turn, it is getting a bit more one-sided. We've got Wulfhere and his guys in the centre. We've got his spearmen have taken a casualty, and the bowmen on the flank are still pristine. We've got some quite battered bowmen on the left flank here for the Men of Longdown, and they've got taken a bit of battering for the spearmen there. So I think we will call it here, and we'll declare victory for the Men of Oldenwick.
As the dust settled over bloodstained fields, the victorious cry of Aldenwick's defenders faded. They now had to face the grim reality of their victory. Wulfhere stood amidst the scattered bodies, his heart heavy with sorrow. His eyes scanned the horizon, watching as the Men of Longdown retreated, their ambitions thwarted for now. The wounded were gathered and tended to with what little supplies they had. Wulfhere moved among the men, offering words of encouragement and solace. The dead, both friend and foe, were respectfully laid to rest. Graves were dug with care, and prayers were whispered over their bodies. As the last of the burials were completed, a hush fell over the fields, a moment of quiet reflection for the lives lost in defence of their home. Knowing Sir Richard would retaliate, Wulfhere and his men prepared for the next clash. Defences were strengthened, and plans were made to defend their land. Whatever was to come, one thing was certain: the men of Oldenwick would be outnumbered. At that moment, a horn sounded from the forests. From the darkness of the woods, riders were approaching.